You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back for another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Woo! April showers, okay? April showers. We're in April and it is raining like cats and dogs. Like, every time I think there's going to be progress with the spring, either we get snow or we get rain, and it's just like so much. I appreciate the rain though, but everyone says, April showers lead to May flowers, but I'm also like, at least the wet happy hours, because I was actually this week going to a couple of events and it was just raining like excessively. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like all of the weather is matching the seasons now. Like April, it's really raining in April. Spring, March is a little weird. But, I just don't know what to do. Like I'm in between, fashions. Like I'm trying to transition away from sweaters because I'm trying to really get to spring. But every blue moon, I'm reminded, keep that sweater right up there in the closet. I was talking to one of my friends, Josh, and he's into florals. I was into florals last year. Looks like florals is making a comeback this year. But it's just like this weather is not letting me get into the groove. The weekend was fine so far, but the weather outside of that has been really weird, and it's been just a hard, pill to swallow. And then with these cases coming up with COVID, it's like, here comes COVID again. It hasn't left the building, but it's reintroducing itself, and so it's a lot of that. But overall, I'm just starting to get into the mindset that, like, I was reading something that was talking about endemics, where there's something that's like COVID or like the common flu, where it's around, it's going to be with us, but it doesn't invade our space. I mean, there's still stories, right, of people with headlines that are saying things like, oh, so-and-so tested positive for COVID. And it doesn't feel like the breaking news that it felt like, I want to say, a year ago, right? When it felt like, like Jen Psaki, who's, the spokesperson for the White House, she's gotten COVID, like 2 to 3 times already, I think, or this is her second time or whatnot. And it just seems like now it's becoming this normal. Obama has had it already. Others, I guess. I think was it Hillary? Hillary did not too long ago. Queen Elizabeth did. Just seems like there's more people, but they're not. Because they're boosted. It's not presenting extreme fatal cases, and I think that's making all the difference. For what it's worth, but nonetheless, people like myself who have not gotten it, knocking on my wooden table, I'm really in a space where I'm still remaining vigilant, keeping up with my mask and everything. I was getting a little, lax, but now I'm feeling like, damn, I got to really take it seriously again because here it comes, by all means, people are like, oh, we got to go back to using hand sanitizer. I'm sorry, but were we not using hand sanitizer before? What did we just stop being clean people? I get the sincerity of masks, but like hand sanitizer should have been used before pandemic. But I'm just learning a lot about people's hygiene. I must admit I'm learning a lot of things, and I don't know how I feel about it. But I'm also noticing too that people are going out even when they're under the weather. Like they're sick and they're like going out again. I'm like, no. We had made a pact, people. We all made a pact that if you were feeling under the weather, you should stay home. Even if it's not COVID, you should not be going out if you're under the weather, if you're sick or you're, having high fever, whatever the case is. You really shouldn't be going out regardless, right? And so I'm starting to see some people like, oh, I'm a little sick. I'm like, why are you here? Get out. So I'm having some moments right now. Sipping on my blood orange Spindrift. That's been making me happy. I've been cheating on my ice cream interest, but then I don't feel loyalty in these brands because none of them are paying me. But I've been having an interesting war of with Battle of the Ice Creams, like right now, Jenny's and Van Lauren's. I've been debating between those ice cream brands. I realized that, you know what? I don't have to be loyal to one or the other. It's not like sparkling water where there's clearly one that's better than everybody else, right? Clearly Spindrift. But with the ice creams, what I'm realizing is someone has a flavor the other one doesn't have. So as long as I am going for a specific flavor, like, I mean, everyone has vanilla, and I'm not going to be the one to tell you which vanilla is better. But like, what I realized that you can like multiple ice cream brands at the same time. They can all be good. Like, I love Talancini, which is more of a gelato sorbet situation. But that used to be my favorite. I could not eat anything else but them. But as I've gotten older, I've moved off of my Talancini crave. I mean, every blue moon, they pop up. But I think because I had so much of it in college, I also used to, I love CVS. Like, I'm a big CVS fan. So CVS will always sell it on sale. And they used to be them and Ben& Jerry's. Now I'm like exploring other ice cream flavors beyond Ben& Jerry's. And then I never really was crazy about Haagen-Dazs. Like, Haagen-Dazs had a couple of flavors, but I never was like crazy about them like that. And just never was excited about them. I think it's because when I was little, it used to be that and Breyers. Do y'all remember Breyers? The the black one is delicate ice cream. I don't know how they marketed it, but it used to make it seem like Breyers was like the best thing ever. And it was in that little black little carton or whatever. And they used to make it seem like it was something serious. Especially with birthday cake when I was little. I don't know. Just taking me back. But now, I feel like people are eating ice cream. The best ice cream is not coming in those big, gigantic, cartons, whatnot. Now, the only kind of ice cream that, if it came to Philadelphia, will blow everyone's mind is Bluebell. Bluebell is a Southern delicacy. I loved it in Texas. It was my favorite ice cream. Oh my goodness. What was my favorite flavor? It was pecan pralines and cream. Now, there's other brands that have made their own, but their version is the best. But there's no Bluebells around here, so I'm not even going to get you all excited about it. But this Van Lauren's ice cream, I tried. There was an opening. They opened a new location in Rittenhouse. They have one already in Philly on 13th. They're going to open a new location in Fishtown, which I just found out about. But they're making their inroads. They got locations in New York. They're really popular in New York. Now they're in Philly, taking over Philly. They're about to open a couple of other locations around. But they're making their imprint. They're about to they're in Walmarts now. I like some of their flavors. One of the flavors they have that I like is this Earl Grey tea flavor. And it is good. It's good. And I like Earl Grey tea. I'm not like crazy about tea, but Earl Grey tea is okay. But this flavor is better than that tea. I don't know. It's a different mood. I can't describe it, but it's good. It's like if you ever had like green tea flavored ice cream or matcha, you walk away liking the flavor of it more than you like the item itself. That's how I feel about this ice cream flavor. Like, I was never an Earl Grey tea fan like that. I mean, it was okay, but this flavor, I like the flavor. That's kind of how I feel about coffee. Like, I'm not a coffee drinker. I don't drink coffee. But I like the smell of it. I like the smell of it. Like, I don't mind a coffee flavored ice cream. But coffee as an actual item, no. I wonder if there's other people like that. Like, there's certain things you like the smell of it, the flavor, but you don't like the actual item itself. I have a friend who hates strawberries but likes strawberry ice cream. It's weird. Like, they love strawberry ice cream, but they hate strawberries. Like, as an actual item. That's kind of how I feel about coffee. Maybe other people feel the same way. I don't know. I like the smell of it. I like candles. Like, I will fuck up a coffee scented candle. But drinking it? No, I'm good on that. And I know that's a unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people are making jokes about give us a take that will get you canceled. I there's a trend on Twitter about this like we're canceling each other today about X, Y, and Z topic. What's your unfavorable, what's your unpopular opinion about something? And so what did I say that was cancelable or maybe a joke about travel? Like, I hate traveling, and I've made this very clear. I hate traveling for vacation. I'm a staycation queen. I really don't like it, and I'm being open about it. Like, coming out the closet to tell you all this is an important thing. Like, don't. Like, all this, let's go to Miami, let's go here. No. Unless there's a check, there's business, it's a family situation. I just don't have any enthusiasm. Like people are always like, "Oh, we're going." And there's people that have tossed around the idea of a destination wedding, and in my head, I'm like, "I'm not going. I'm not going. I'm not going." Um, so I've had some interesting experiences on that front with dealing with you know folks, you know, and their ideas about looks and it's been some interesting experiences. Let me just say that. Um, so that was one travel. There was one about TV entertainment that also got me. What was that take I had? It was like, what was the take? It was about, oh yes, TV ideas that would be canceled. I tell people I think that Insecure is overrated. I Let me be clear about this. And I always hinted about it on this show, but I want to be very clear. I think that what it has done for their audience, the people that love that show, and the black women who enjoy it and like it, I am happy for them. I'm happy that they found a show that speaks to them and their interest. For me, I am just like, writing. Just I don't know. It's not for me. It was not made for me, and that's okay. I just there are shows. Let me say there are other shows that were out that were not quote unquote made for me that I can appreciate, like Girlfriends, like Living Single, that I find better. Okay, but this show, and it's just like this is a show that could have been summed up in 2 seasons. For it to have been on for multiple seasons, it just feels redundant. It just seems out of this world. I don't know. I feel like the storyline don't match the character's age. Like they're much older, but they're like dealing with like some very childish shit. And it just seems like this could have been really good if it was set in a college dorm. Like if the characters were like in college or like post college, like they first year out of school, this would be phenomenal. But the fact that they're like super grown and they're acting like this in like their mid 30s, I'm just kind of like, what the fuck? That's how I feel. I just feel like they're just too grown to be doing this silly stuff. It just feels weird. Cause I'm 30 and I watch it. All my friends are like in their, like late 20s, early 30s, and so we love this show. But I'm just like, are these characters our age? Because the actors are much older. So I'm just like, how does this work? But again, the show was not made for me. I just, don't cancel me. Whatever. So speaking of canceling, as you all probably know, I am done with my book. I have submitted my final draft. My final draft has been approved. The book is now in production. Cover, pre-sale, all that stuff is coming very soon. But I'm done. It's been a wrap. It's been a wrap. And it's such a sigh of relief. And I say all this because this is my first ever book. I'm a first-time author. I've never gone through this process before. I've never gone through this journey before. I, feel like I could be slightly an expert now. I feel like I could tell some people some things about the business. But let's talk after after the book is on the charts and selling. But it's been a journey. I'll just say that much. It's been a learning opportunity, and it's easier said than done. My heart goes out, my thoughts go out to all the writers and authors and people who've done this before me. And I will say specifically as a person who did an adult nonfiction book. So I'm going to do my little stump speech real quick because I have some things to say. I feel a little good, so now I want to say some things about this. Because when you're in the throes of writing a book, let me just be clear. A year ago around this time, I was negotiating my book deal. And some of you all remember season 1. In the very beginning of season 1, you all probably remember I was talking about I had a big surprise. Around this time a year ago, I was in the process of with my agent, getting my book deal, getting everything together. And so to see this turn around within a year so fast, I mean, it time goes. And just the ability and I feel good about it. I love this book. We're excited. The team is excited. Everybody's excited about it. I left no crumb. I left no crumb. I named names. I reference everything. I talk about everybody, everything I want to talk about. This book just comes out of me like it's just there. And I had so much fun writing it. I really got to go in and talk about this topic. And I'm just so happy that it's out at a time where everyone's talking about cancel culture. So I don't have to worry about, when I was in the very, very beginning phases of this, which was, what year was that? It was like 2 years ago. uh, I was like, oh, cancel culture was still, well, 3 years ago when the original concept was around 2.5 years ago, about 3 years ago, when I first started engaging with cancel culture. I wrote a piece in the New York Times in 2019 about it. It was still too early. It was a topic amongst the elite. It was a topic amongst the academic society and culture, political sphere. But now the term and everything about it has hit mainstream. You can go to the barbershop and talk about cancel culture. 2.5 years ago, people didn't know what that was about. The only people that talked about it were the very niche people that was online. It was very much a guarded, gated term. And what I was happy about is that too many people tried to not make cancel culture a thing or the word or the concept. People were trying to throw out other terms, but none of those terms stuck. And that makes me feel good, right? Like they tried to say, no, let's not say cancel culture, let's say accountability culture. Fuck no. I was like, let's keep this topic. And I fought it. I fought through. I stuck to my guns. And it feels good because I knew there was something here, and how it connects to my life, how it connects to the work that I've done over the years. This was just the perfect timing. It just works, and I'm just as excited. You can hear my enthusiasm. I know you all are excited. Like every time I've talked about it, everyone's like, "Where's that pre-order link?" I know. Trust me. Let me tell you right now. Between now and next year, okay, February of next year. Between now and February next year, I'm going to be getting on your nerves. No, I'm joking. I'm not going to be that person. Listen, you want that. You want to see marketing Ernest in action. You want to see Ernest selling something to you, not scamming you, because this is quality. You're going to see me in full drive. Okay? By the time all this is over, every subscriber and listener would have bought a copy or two or more. Because it's going down. We have a book. I couldn't, it's one of those things where when you're in the process writing and going through the motions, you don't you don't talk about it because you don't want to. That's not the thing about jinxing yourself, but you're in this mindset that you're like, I don't want to, I gotta go. I can't feel 100% until it's done, right? Like I had a concept, I wrote multiple drafts, but until I hit it right, it's like making a song or an album. Until you feel like you've executed the groove and the flow, then you can feel good. Like I feel good now. I feel great. Like I broke my case down. There were certain things that happened with cancel culture over the past year, as you all know. And we do talk about it in this book, right? It's not, we use as much relevant topics as possible. But of course, there's going to be many things that's going to happen from now to the book release. But the great thing about that is that I can, when I do my book tour and all that, I can talk about all that. So that's my plan, is that there's so much more to talk about between now and the time of the book's release that's going to keep it going. But what I do with this book is, there's nothing like it out in the market. I am focused on making a case for something that so many people are against. And a mainstream, publisher like Macmillan that's allowing me to have this ability, this space to make the case, is ballsy. And I'm excited about that. And it's also an important goal of mine because, like I said earlier, a lot of times to be to be 30, to be Black, to be queer, to be a first-time writer, writing an adult nonfiction book about a topic like this, it's just goals for me. Because I've always said for a while, even before I did this podcast, I said, look, I don't want to make my first journey into this business doing the same type of, I'm going to put all my personal business out and do a tell-all book about my life and all of that, right? Because that's always expected. Like a lot of times when Black writers do adult nonfiction books, there's oftentimes memoirs or about their personal life. And that's cool, right? Like there's value there. Some people have told some really great stories about their life. Like Charles Blow, his first book was incredible. But in Obama's, right? But I think there's something to be said about getting the chance to write a book like this that's about a topic that's mainstream. Too often, a lot of the books about boomers, millennials, trendy topics are not written by Black authors, especially young Black authors. They're oftentimes they're not given the space to. And if we are, we're talking about activism specifically. We're talking about, Black Lives Matter. We're talking about, similar trends and topics. But to steer into a direction that is about something that literally anyone else could write about, that isn't necessarily directly about race, immediately about race, that's unique. And that's oftentimes not given to us. And as a journalist, I have fought in my career to write about topics that don't necessarily put me in a box, right? Because I know a lot of people thought that my first book was going to be about my life or about growing up or about my queer Black experience or, me writing about, activism and those topics. And, there needs to be more books about that, of course. But I was like, that's expected, right? Like, that's what I write about often. And I love writing about it. But this is everything I do. I try to reinvent myself or give myself a new angle or a new view or something that is surprising or fun. And I think we all should do that in our careers. Find those things where it's like, everybody wants me to do this, but I want to do something different. I want to do something topic that people can't. Don't predict me. Don't try to predict my moves. You'll go in circles trying to do that. That's what I like to do. I have fun doing that. And even doing this podcast, like that was I just was like, I'm going to do a podcast when I want to do it because there are people like, oh, you should have done a podcast 5 years ago. Yeah, but I wasn't ready to do it the way that I'm doing it now. And I think that's what we should always do in our careers, our personal goals, our life, is just mix it up for yourself. And so for me, I knew what everyone thought my book was going to be about. And then I told y'all, nope, it's going to be about this. And y'all were like, oh, I can see that. And that's fun. It's the fun of it all. And I have purposely have not written anything about cancel culture. If you notice, I haven't written any op-eds, I haven't written any long form pieces. I have not talked about cancel culture extensively on social media because I'm using all that for the book. I'm not gonna, there's so much stuff I see on Twitter and it gets tempting. But I'm like, I got a book. I got pages upon pages and chapters to talk about that. Put it in the book. I had to tell myself that a couple of times. There were times where I wanted to go on Twitter and do a Twitter thread and I was like, yo, you have a book. Put this thread in a book. That's what I do sometimes. Sometimes I will do a thread about something I realize, this could be an op-ed. Why am I giving this to you all for free? Or free for myself. Why am I putting out all of my intellectual ideas and property out online? And I do that sometimes. Sometimes I just want to give opinions. But there are some times where I'm like, this needs to be a good piece. And I need to talk to an editor about this to get a check. Versus putting it out on the internet and then someone else runs with it. Because that has happened before. I've seen things I've said on Twitter become other people's talking points for shows and interviews. And, it is what it is, right? But, and then some of you are hilarious because you'll come back to me and you'll say, Ernest, I saw someone say this, or da 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 da, and I'm like, and I'm always nice and gracious, like, oh wow, we must have been thinking about the same thing at the same time on the same day. What a coincidence! Mm-hmm. But I never get too caught up on that kind of stuff because I always feel like, to me, if I put it out there in that type of way, I want people to have conversations. I'm not a colonializer of ideas and things of that nature. I mean, sometimes, of course, style is one thing, but I'm someone who is pretty much like, look, if you're having an open discussion, then have it and understand that people will go back and shout you out or not, or use it or defend it. But what's more important to me sometimes is the fact that people have the ideas and that makes them change their minds or think about it a different way. And sometimes it isn't linked to capitalism. Sometimes it's not from an article. Maybe it's not on a podcast episode or it's not something. I don't want to ever get in the business of always having every single thing I say or do, even though it's a value, right, being traced to an article or something of capitalistic value for myself. Because there's a lot of people that do that, and I'm like, it's tacky. Like every single thing you put out, there's a check involved. Everything, tacky. In my opinion. There's some stuff you give and take. And I feel like if we're talking about a topic that everyone's talking about, and I want to join in the conversation, I'm flattered that everything I say, some people can find profound enough to reference or to cite or to say somewhere else. Cool, right? The thing about ideas, though, is that sometimes people can't articulate it or break it down as well as you can, and that shows. Sometimes when people reference things, they'll say something, and you're like, well, can you really, dig deeper? And then they can't, and then that's how you know it's not their idea. Versus someone who says, look, I'm saying this, and I can tell you 1,000 reasons why, and I can, elaborate or whatever. That's how you know. That's always the catch. So I always say, ideas are fine. People can run with ideas all day. But executing an idea, that's when it's become the difference between the originator and the person who's inspired. Because the execution part makes the difference. Everybody can have the same ideas, have similar ideas. But executing the idea, breaking it down, applying it, that's the difference between those who invent and those who are inspired. So that's why I never get pressed about the idea, people borrowing ideas or, reference ideas, because it's like, you could agree, and I like fandom, but execution, that's a different one. That's a different part. With this book, I there's a lot of great people that I talked to, I interviewed. I read so many other books. I didn't talk too much about it at the time because I was in the process, but oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many new books I had to read. You get it all in my endnotes. How many academic articles, scholarly articles, how many interviews I did with different professors and activists and different people to contribute to this book. It's fun. There's a couple of names you're going to know, and there's some new people you're going to learn about, but they're all in this, and it's done. So I can't stop talking about it, but I'm just super excited. I can't complain. So, yes. More details to come. I will tell you that we're now in the stages of cover. People have asked me ideas about the cover. I'm not telling y'all anything. So, not yet. Don't ask. Is the cover going to have you? What color scheme? What graphics? What work? Don't ask me. We're exploring all options. That's what I can say. All options are being explored. Whatever makes sense or whatever feels good. But all I know is that once you see the cover, know that is the cover that I approve, that I loved, that is the absolute cover that I think makes the most sense. And I will give you a case-by-case, blow-by-blow play on why I think it is, if you're curious to know. But yes, that's all I'll say. Pre-sale, I know people's asked about that. Look, I don't know. Coming soon. That's all I can say. Coming soon. But trust me, the moment that Amazon pre-order link goes up and the cover is up and everything's up, you'll be the first to know. Trust me. I will make sure it. And if you are a book critic or someone who likes to review books and things, you'll get an advanced copy. Yes, you will. We'll talk about it. So there's a lot of that too. So, moving along. I am making an appearance this week. Connor Lamb, because we have to talk about this. So, the PA Senate race, there's a debate happening in Philadelphia on Monday. Connor Lamb, Malcolm Kenyatta, and John Fetterman are going to be having a debate. Gabby Giffords, which you all probably remember, the former congresswoman who was a victim of gun violence, she is having a gun violence forum at the National Constitution Center, and those three candidates will be there. I will be in the building, okay? I will be there watching the debate, seeing the candidates go head to head. They will all three be making an appearance, and I will be at that forum. I don't know if it's going to be televised. I can imagine it's going to be streaming, but this is the first time they've been together as a group, and they're going to be getting in. They're going to be getting it in. A lot of shit has been said over the past 2 weeks, and it has gotten intense. The girls are fighting, as we say in the queer community. The girls are fighting. But that we call it, in this case, the candidates are fighting. Gloves are off, and everybody's throwing mud. And we're close to We're getting close to a month away from the election, and now everybody's ready to just have a whole shit show. May 17th couldn't come soon enough. They're fighting. The polls, they're fighting. They're getting at it. And I mean, it's given desperate to me, some of this. So what I'm talking about specifically is Connor Lamb. He is a congressman, of course, running against Fetterman and Kenyatta. He ran an ad. His PAC did. Well, let me clarify. There is a PAC, a political action committee, that is backing him called Pin Progress. And they ran an ad, this week that basically accused Fetterman of being a self-described socialist, in parentheses. They cited NPR. They also referenced people calling him a silver spoon socialist. And they didn't tell us who said that. And it's gotten pretty ugly. They're going with these attacks and referring him as a socialist. Well, that ad got pulled down by 6ABC. Yes, the Philadelphia local affiliate. And factcheck.org has called the ad completely false, misinformation. They've cited 2 inaccuracies. They basically have flagged it as being incorrect and misleading and problematic. The ad is is atrocious. And Senator Elizabeth Warren has even told Connor Lamb that he needs to disavow the ad immediately. She basically said he needs to, as a Democrat, he needs to disavow that ad. The ad is horrible, you all. It was ugly. I saw it when I was getting my haircut over the week, last week, and I was like, whoa. Where are these talking points coming from? So let's talk about the reference of a self-described socialist. John Fetterman has never referred to himself as a self-described socialist. That is false. There was many fact corrections over the years. There were several articles that described him as self-described, but he himself said in 2016 during a Young Turks interview that wasn't true, that he is not a socialist. He does not consider himself a democratic socialist, that has been something he's been branded with, arguably because he's supported Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders has, of course, referred to himself as a democratic socialist. But Fetterman has not. And that's just not true. And the NPR article that PAC referenced this, that article even said that they had to correct it and said that John Fetterman did not refer to himself as a self-described socialist. They even said in the article they had to correct it and fact check it. So the fact that this PAC ran that was as malicious and disgusting. The other crazy part is when they said people has described him as a silver spoon socialist. The crazy part is that was given by a Republican, Pennsylvania Republican chairman, a former chairman of the Republican Party in Pennsylvania. The former chairman of the Republican Party in Pennsylvania referred to him as that. And also described Connor Lamb's election as pushing socialism within the Democratic Party. So this man has not only made shots at Fetterman, but has also made shots at Connor Lamb and tried to link the two to socialism. So for their PAC to use Republican talking points, it's just ridiculous and desperate. And Connor Lamb in previous tweets a while ago went as far to describe Fetterman as a socialist. Nasty. Just nasty. It's one thing to throw shots. He's been throwing shots, for a minute. And in some situations, it's become desperate because, a week ago, before this ad ran, he made a shot at Fetterman about that 2013 incident with the gun and the unarmed black man that happened with Fetterman, where he said he did not understand the man's racial identity. He didn't see the man's racial identity when he pursued because he had heard gunshots, and he said that prompted him to pursue someone that was running in a hood close by. He brought that incident up, Connor Lamb did, but of course, as you know, my last podcast episode, I was saying that are we trying to imply that Fetterman's racist? I mean, that's the real question. Are they trying to imply that he's a vigilante? It just has gotten really ugly and seeing Connor go down this route, my question becomes, it's made me begin to dig into Connor Lamb's record. And I have found some things that was not too pleasing. And looking at just the stuff that his campaign has been doing, it's been ugly. And what's crazy is that the whole argument is, and even Malcolm Kenyatta has been talking about some of these issues with Fetterman, and he's been doing it a little bit more, I guess the word is skillfully. But the problem is that this issue is coming up so late. And even worse is that the argument keeps being made, well, the Republicans are going to use it against him in November. Well, let them use it. But they'll be using a bunch of other things that are problematic and negative. I mean, I just think if we start entertaining what Republicans will use against any of these candidates, defying electability. Okay, so if Malcolm runs, right? If Malcolm runs, let's just say Malcolm runs. Or he wins. Well, he's running. But he wins. Republicans will use his sexual orientation against him. They'll use, his Black Lives Matter stances against him. They'll say that he is a lot of things, and they'll be homophobic, and they'll use that against him. So should that be taken in a way to say he's not electable because of what the right will do? If we gave so many fucks about what Republicans will use against people to make that argument, all of them will be battered and bruised against them. And let's be clear, you think Republicans give a fuck about Fetterman pursuing someone with a gun when they actually are pro-gun, they're anti-gun control, they like guns, and they actually support the kind of behavior that some people would consider atrocious? I'm just trying to figure out what's the narrative here. Because I just don't understand why we're trying to act like Republicans and how they will use things against candidates is something that's going to make the difference. It's not. It's so tacky. It's so tacky. It's a stupid argument. It doesn't make any sense. And I just kind of feel like, when have we given a fuck about, like, that's like saying, then by all means, then people should have said Hillary should not have ran for president, right? Because then everyone's going to say, well, Hillary, they're going to use, in November, they're going to use Hillary's Bill Clinton, her marriage to Bill Clinton to be unelectable. Fuck out of here. Republicans are going to use whatever they're going to use to do whatever they're going to do. They're going to pull rabbits at their ass. One incident over another is never going to be the end all be all. The same way it wasn't when Fetterman ran for lieutenant governor, right? The Republicans used this. Was this the end all be all from the win lieutenant governor? Did they use it when he ran for mayor? I mean, I just think it's getting really desperate. And what's crazy to me is that while they're spending this time harping on these incidents, I want to ask, well, what is your solution? What is your actual stance on the issue? What is your stance? What's your follow-up? And this is not from Malcolm, because I know Malcolm has given his own opinion about it as a black man. But Connor Lamb says that he tosses this around. I'm like, okay, but what is your stance? What is your take? What is your opinion? What is your reach? Do you think he's racist? Do you think this issue is wrong? Do you, support Black Lives Matter? You don't. You don't support the protesters. You actually voted in favor of a policy that did not stop Donald Trump from potentially using military force to stop protesters. Did y'all know that? Like he did not. There was a policy in place, a measure that would allow Trump to use military force on the ground during Black Lives Matter protests. Connor Lamb did not block that or speak against that. He actually supported that measure. But we want to talk about violence and pursuing people with guns. You didn't have no problem with Trump using authorized military on the ground when protesters were speaking out against Black Lives Matter, and you thought that was okay? What in the Tom Cotton is going on? But it's funny because that's Fetterman's whole shtick, right? He says this race won't be won on Twitter, but you're only throwing shots on Twitter. You're not throwing the shots at debates. I'm curious to see what's going to go down at this gun violence event, this forum this week. I will be at the debates. Fetterman will be there. Lamb will be there. Malcolm Kenyatta will be there. They're going to be there. And they're going to see me, and I'm going to see them. And I want to see what's good for the people. I want to see this for them. I want to see what they're going to say. Y'all know it's been a while since I've been to a Candace forum in a long time. And I'm going to make sure my face is together because the last time I went to a Candace forum was many years ago. Some of y'all remember this. I was at the Mayor Kenny forum when it was Kenny and it was Anthony Williams of Bukovitz. And I was in the audience and it was at NBC 10 and they were so mad at me. And my facial expressions were shown on camera and it went viral and people were talking about it. It was a big old deal. I'm definitely going to make sure that I don't have those type of facial expressions at this forum. You know, again, the Queen, you know, Gabby Giffords will be there. And it's her forum. And I, as an audience member and as a person covering this forum, I'm there to report and I'm going to be, you know, in my best behavior. But it's going to be really hard. I'm going to keep all of my thoughts in my head. Have you ever seen that meme where there's a person like burning inside, like crying and being angry, but they have a mask on with a smile? That's going to probably be me during this debate. I'm just going to have to just sit there and hear a lot of bullshit and just have to just bear with it. But it's going to be interesting. A lot of other elected officials will be there. Dwight Evans, a couple other folks will be there in the building. Ed Rendell, a lot of people. It's going to be one for the show, one for the masses. But I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. But I'm just saying, it's getting ugly. It's getting ugly. It's getting ugly. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, I'm optimistic. You know, I'm optimistic to see what happens there. So, Kenyatta. Kenyatta Johnson. On to other Kenyatas. Kenyatta Johnson, Council member Kenyatta Johnson has his bribery trial right now. And it's getting heated, y'all. It's getting heated. It's really getting heated. It's been going on for several weeks now. It's been, what, 2.5 weeks now? I feel like it should be coming to a close soon. I'm hoping it is. Because, you know, this should be dragging, y'all. But I hope it comes to a conclusion soon. Because, you know, people out here, we waiting. We ready. It's time. It's time to get the ball rolling, okay? Some of this dragging on, you know, they just like to drag this shit on. It's like, come on now. But, I've been following it. I've been following the trial. I told you I wasn't going to give too many of my opinions into the verdict. But I must say that there's been some interesting revelations for those who've been following. So, long story short, you know, they're accusing this council member, Kenyatta Johnson, of basically being him and his wife being in on a deal where they've accepted money, over $60,000 in bribes, to, you know, have different opinions, to basically, you know, make certain decisions. That's the best way. They basically are saying that prosecutors said that they could rest their case against council member and his wife by the end of the week. That's what we're hearing. But there's still a lot there. You know, we're still trying to figure out what's happening. I've been following the timeline. You know, so long story short, here's what they're saying. Prosecutors are saying that Kenyatta Johnson used his position as a city council member, you know, in 2013, 2014, to protect the real estate holdings of Universal Companies. So this Universal Companies, as you all know, was, or some of y'all may not know, they were founded by Kenny Gamble, who's like this legendary music producer. And this is a nonprofit. They're South, you know, Universal Companies is a South Philly Community Development and Charter Schools nonprofit. Kenny Gamble has nothing to do with this, okay? So this is Kenny Gamble from Gamble and Huff, right? Well, what they're saying is that Johnson used his position to protect the real estate holdings. And in exchange, they're claiming, the feds are claiming, that he took bribes of more than $66,000 in the form of a consulting job for his wife, who was named Dawn Chavot. That's his wife. So they're both facing 2 counts of honest services fraud, which basically is punishable by up to 20 years in prison. And there's other people connected to this who also have counts of racketeering, conspiracy, tax evasion, wire fraud. And those are other people that's executives. But to be very clear, Kenny Gamble has nothing to do with this. but there's other people connected to the Universal companies that do. So a lot of people are saying that if he gets convicted, Kenyatta Johnson, just like Bobby Heenan, would be forced to give up their seat. He would be forced to give up his seat on city council, and he'll be the second member of council to do so. And because Bobby Heenan, as you know, just recently got convicted to give up his seat, him and Johnny Doc doing some illegal business. So Kenyatta might have to give up his seat if found guilty. A lot of this has been going on. They're saying the prosecution can wrap up their trial very soon. It's a lot going on. It's a lot. Um, but Kenyatta and Dawn has been saying they've been innocent the entire time. They've been really aggressive on defending their innocence. They've been telling people that, they're innocent, and that's what they've been sticking with. So far, it's been 10 days of testimony. They're saying they're going to wrap up by next week. But it's been a lot. Prosecutors apparently have neared the end of their federal bribery case against Johnson, but they've also have had heated back and forth with their witnesses. Some of this has gotten really a lot, it's telling. Um, like I said before, losing 2 city council members in a year with the mayoral race that's coming up next year in May it's a big damn deal. Especially when a lot of city council members are planning on running for mayor. We have a lot of them. About on my count, I have around 3 to 4 that might resign so that they can run for mayor. That's what we're hearing. So it's telling. It's very telling. And mm, 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 mm. We'll see. We'll see. So, yes. I will talk about this, and I'm going to move on quickly. I heard about Will Smith. I've heard about the ban. He's been banned. The Academy has banned Will Smith from the Oscars for 10 years. They're not taking his Oscar away from him, but they're banning him for 10 years. And this comes off of the heels of, he is not allowed to attend the Oscars for 10 years. Now, he resigned. So now they're coming with this stiff penalty of now banning him for 10 years. So now he's banned 10 years altogether versus a suspension. Because I remember there was an argument about suspension. But now he doesn't have to be suspended because he resigned. So now they're banning him 10 years from attending the Oscars altogether. He can still be nominated, but he will not be allowed to be inside the building for 10 years. You already know probably what my thoughts are. This is excessive as fuck. There's been so much that's been going on in these streets. And 10 years, okay. So Will Smith is currently 53, which I did not know he was that old. But again, it makes sense because he's been around for forever. He'll be 63 by the time he's allowed to go back to the next Oscars. So April 8th, 2032 is when Will Smith will be allowed to go back to the Oscars at 63. Will he even care by then? Will it even matter? Woody Allen doesn't even make appearances at the Oscars because of the fact that he doesn't want to deal with some of the scrutiny, even though he still gets nominated and gets love from the Academy. Very telling. But, a lot of people have had thoughts about it. I've been very annoyed with some of the takes coming out. People are just piling on so much on this whole situation. A lot of people have been definitely piling on this, and it's getting annoying because it's like, okay, we get it. We get that everyone's piling on. We get that everybody wants to say something, but there's people that are just so irrelevant that are now weighing in on this. Like there's like Harry Lenick, which probably a lot of you don't even know who he is, but Harry Lenick is, you know, just a lot. He's an actor who was a part of Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's a longtime black actor, served in a lot of your favorite 80s movies back in the day, The Five Heartbeats. He's in a lot of films, but he is a hypocrite. Like, he wrote this op-ed talking about that Will Smith needs to give up his Oscar in order to restore the dignity or whatever of the Oscars. What the fuck? But the funny part about him is that, of course, I did my digging, right? And it's funny because he's weighed in on the Josh Whedon scandal and said, quote, I think maybe we should give Josh another chance to respond. Not minimizing anybody's story, not minimizing the experience of others had in any way, but I believe that we must learn to reconcile. So it's interesting how he can talk about reconciling this when, you know, this is a situation where there was a director that was accused of inappropriate behavior, and he wants to defend this director, Josh Whedon, who's been accused of doing inappropriate behavior. But here he is, acting like Will Smith has done the ultimate no-no and has done the ultimate crime against humanity. It's the hypocrisy for me. But this is the kind of shit that, a lot of these type of guys do. And then David Oyelowo, who annoys the hell out of me, he, talks about how he's worried. He's claiming that he's worried about the inclusion, about the Oscars inclusion, like would it set the inclusion back for the Oscars because of what Will Smith done. I'm sorry, David Oyelowo, who played an incredible role. He's a great actor, but he's a British black actor. And these British black actors, they oftentimes express anti-blackness. They show a different type of interesting side. All of them often do. There's been a lot of criticism about British black actors taking, roles from, American black actors who have experiences with slavery and other things. And, I've always been kind of mixed about how I feel about that. But then there's times like this where it's like, you clearly are not understanding the context of how racism happens in America and how racial bias happens in this idea of respectability. Look, if Will Smith gave us a 30-year career where he was a Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Award winner, he was somebody who a lot of people looked up to, and this man did one bad decision in his career, he made one bad choice, and everybody just turns on him instantly and just completely act like he's the worst person in the world for one bad act. Mind you, an act that clearly wasn't as violent or as problematic as a lot of other folks have done, right? For them to now make him the example and to pile on him in this way and give him no grace just shows you that respectability politics does not fucking matter. Because the moment you can do one thing is the interesting thing that everyone else must have to weigh in and say something. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And some of the same people who got these opinions, about, people and this, that, and the third, it says a lot. It says a lot. And it's been really annoying too, let me just say sidebar, that a lot of media have been trying to stir up old mess. Like New York Post put an article out that everyone's been talking about how Jada once said that, said that she wished she wasn't married to Will Smith. That was taken out of context. This was in 2018 during a Red Table Talk where she talked about her, wanting liberation and be free. But now they're bringing it up like it's a new conversation. And it's just so interesting how there has been media really trying to spark controversy when really Jada hasn't really said much publicly on the record. And Will hasn't really said anything outside of his apologies. But now everyone is like, sources say, this say. And it's like, this is getting a little bit too much. Like, all these sources say this and this, and Chris Rock is going to sue. And it's like, I'm really getting disappointed as a journalist, I'm getting frustrated with just seeing how media has been covering this and how others have been feeding off of it. It's like, unless you're hearing direct statements coming from these individuals, all this other speculative shit is just not sticking. It's like everyone is saying something. I am someone who don't like to do that. Sources say, unless you are getting statements with names. This is the type of situation where I tell people, name names or leave it on the playground. Name names or leave it on the playground. All this sources say, experts say, that's bullshit. As a journalist, I will tell you that a lot of times when it deals with celebrity gossip and news, quote unquote news, because really a lot of this shit isn't really news that we really should be eating up and giving a fuck. I mean, there's so much other stuff going on in the world. But like, if we're gonna go there, let's really unpack some of this for real, for real. When Hollywood folks say, sources say, a lot of times it is either quote unquote friends of the other team, publicists, agents, or people who are literally paid to create mess and drama. AKA Kris Jenner, who will oftentimes tip off the press or the paparazzi to go follow her daughters, Kim and Khloe and the rest of them. And then we're wondering, why are the paparazzi there? It's not that the paparazzi gives a fuck about what Kim is doing every 5 seconds. It's the fact that people like Kris Jenner and their family and friends are literally calling for paparazzi to be out there so that there can be attention and hype around them. Paparazzi are not necessarily... You want to talk about real paparazzi? You want to talk about real celebrities who have real paparazzi on them? Let's talk about Michael Jackson. That is somebody who literally people hunted down. In the throes of his career, people wanted Michael Jackson. Like Michael Jackson, they were talking about him at the Lakers. Michael did not want to go to a Lakers game one time with Magic Johnson because he knew that it would be pandemonium. Michael Jackson went to a Lakers game and they literally had to stop the game so he could exit because it was way too much pandemonium. We will never see that level of celebrity again. There is just not that level of celebrity anymore. I know people think that's Beyonce. It's not. It's okay. Beyonce does get that kind of stand-up. But celebrities go to basketball games and sit on the front row, and there's never going to be that kind of craziness. What happened with Michael Jackson, we will never see that level of stand-up again. Like paparazzi, the way they used to go after Britney Spears, like that was a real moment. That is not happening anymore. And I don't want to throw shots at these celebrities today, but a lot of them just don't have the talent, the uniqueness, or the excitement. And part of the reason why, because I'm going to read right now, because I've been thinking about this for a while, I've been trying to figure out why is that the case, is because celebrities are so overexposed that we're not that excited about them in the same way we used to be. Like, there was a time where the only time you would hear about celebrities was something on TV or in a magazine. Now with social media, I know way too much about these motherfuckers that I just don't even care. I just don't. Like, it's like you see them every day. They're on our timeline. They got their own social media accounts. They're doing their own dumb videos. We just know way too much about them to even care. Michael Jackson, you didn't know anything. Michael Jackson didn't have a Snapchat. He didn't have an Instagram, a TikTok. Those celebrities back then, Britney and them, they didn't have all of that. So anytime they made an appearance somewhere, it was crazy because you didn't know what they were doing. All you knew is what you read in magazines because there was no other way we would know what would be true. Like when we used to hear the crazy stories about Beyonce in the early 2000s, about how she would eat weird things with everything with hot sauce, we never knew how she really ate. We didn't know anything based on what we read in magazines. People would buy the magazines. Or you would be like me when I was at the grocery store and you would just go and read every tabloid magazine while you was waiting for your parents to shop at the grocery store. And then you would never buy them and you'd be like, Mom, I want to get this back, put this back. You never would buy it, but you would read the whole thing. And you thought you knew about your fave. And then when they did interviews on TV, like, what was it, 2020 or, ABC Nightly News, when they would do those interviews, it would be a big deal because those are the only times you would see them outside of an award show appearance. Now, you don't even have to, there's YouTube, there's 1,000 videos, there's 1,000 Snapchats. Now you don't even have to wait. So that culture, we don't have that anymore. Celebrities tell us everything they want to tell us. I don't even care what the blogs say anymore because now celebrities will get on there and say that's not true. We'll be like, okay, so the Shade Room was lying or TMZ had it wrong or so. Like, it's just a different world now. So I feel like, to a certain extent, we're not as pressed. I mean, don't get it twisted. There is still stands, there's still fan culture, but the days of like complete massive chaos over celebrities, I just don't think those days exist anymore because they've gotten richer. I will give them that. Like the celebrities we looked up to, a lot of them ended up broke or they didn't have the right contract deals or they didn't have 360 deals or they didn't have contracts where they could do multiple things. They were, they made money, but they had to pay a lot of people. They had A&R, they had all this other stuff. These celebrities make way more money than our legendary faves back in the day. And I'm talking about millennials. Like people are like, oh, well, why Britney doesn't have as much money as, let's say, Justin Bieber, right? Because Britney came from an era where they wasn't paying artists that kind of money. And also, these artists spent their money. They got legal fees. They had all kind of shit. I look at the stuff that happened to the Backstreet Boys, the NSYNC's, initial contracts. A lot of those artists got ripped off and exploited. They didn't really sign the deals they signed today. So people like Ariana Grande is super rich, but she's not as talented as some of the faves that we grew up liking. Some of them got their money off of royalties, aced their contracts, did something. But you look at all these other artists that's out now, it's just a different world. And, they don't make Hollywood stars that they used to. Will Smith, Denzel, the reason why these people were great, because they were people that could do any type of movie. Nowadays, the movie stars that you all like are like so like connected to a damn Marvel movie theme or something, like a superhero movie. It's just, everything has gotten cheap. Everything's gotten cheap. I feel like I'm old now saying that, but I just really feel like things have gotten cheap. That's my case. That's what I'm sticking with. Things have gotten cheap. I said it. but real talk, now that Will Smith has been banned for 10 years, now that he's resigned, a lot of people that are still trying to give opinions, please shut the fuck up. We don't care. We don't care about your take. It's over. Let it go. Move the fuck on. We don't care. Seriously, we don't care. We really don't. I don't know why we're kicking a dead horse. I feel like it's giving pick me culture where, back in the day people make joke about quote unquote pick me, which is like they would joke about women who would say the most misogynistic things so they could get a man's attention. So they would participate in internalized sexism or misogyny to basically try to think that that's going to make, like kind of like how, well, you know what I was going with that. Candace Owens, pick me culture, pick me, white conservatives, look at me, trashing my own community so I can get liked. I feel like there's become a pick me culture with a lot of black people in the situation. We have another word for it, rise of moon, but I'm not saying that today. But what I will say, is that there is a pick me culture amongst black people right now that are piling on Will Smith. It's a pick me, like this guy Lennox. Like, you think you're going to get a career boost off of this, Harry? No, you're not. No one cares. This just backfired on you. There's a lot of people even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is like, what are you doing, sir? Legendary basketball player. We were always respected. But there's just at a certain point in time, these takes where it's like, do you think this makes you sound more profound? Are you really just piling on because someone's paid you to do it or prop you up to do it? You want to be that person that the white folks are going to just give you a pat on the back for? Just tired. I'm so happy I've never did that in my career. I've never wrote articles or did things to try to get the approval, to get white validation if I didn't feel it. If I felt how I felt and it resonated with some people from various groups or identities, fine. But I never did anything to say, oh, I just really want this group of people to like me so bad. No. Not in my professional career. No. Because you'll realize that you could be everything a certain group of people will want you to be today. And the moment you say one thing that's different, they'll change. I can't tell you how many of my black friends I went to Penn with, or I wouldn't even say friends, because these were not my friends. These were like just colleagues, quote unquote. That when I was at Penn, they would just always judge me, say, oh, Ernest, you're so outspoken and divisive and controversial, all the words. And, you're gonna, you gotta think about this and think about that. They would always tell me that, right? And then something in 2020 happened, right? The racial uprisings happened. And when they decided to wake up and look at the mirror, and they looked in the mirror and they realized they were black, and they started to speak about racism, some of those white people that they were really cool with did two things. Some of them started to obsess over me and stand over me. And they were like, oh my goodness, they like you. I'm like, but what the fuck did that happen? I'm like, yeah, that's how white people turn. They do 180s. All right? They're the same people that will hate you one day. When it's on trend, they'll love you the next day. I seen it happen. Don't think I haven't forgotten. Never forget. And then the other thing was that when some of them spoke up about racism, a lot of their white friends were like surprised and disappointed in them. And I realized how fucked up that some of the people they were cool with for all these years were turning against them because they were speaking out out against racism as a black person. See that? And so 2020 and since 2020 has been a revelation for some black people. They're coming to terms with the fact that one, they're black, and two, there are people that are white that will not be alongside them, even if they feel like there's empirical evidence that can defend them and support their cause and reasoning. It doesn't matter with them because that's not white supremacy. Doesn't have a limit. White supremacy doesn't have a barometer. Like, it's unfair, it's cruel, it's cold, it's biased, it's all of the things that makes you not give a fuck about how you present in certain cases. Like, I present for myself. I present for, my family, for my own reputation. Whatever decisions I make, I have to live with. I feel like there's some people who are trying so hard to appeal to different people. At some point as black people, and there's people that are, even other folks from other marginalized communities, at some point, you got to get out of that white gaze and that reality because it will kill you. It will kill you. It will kill you. It will break you. It will break you. It will destroy you. It will. I've seen it happen to people I know in my professional life. I've seen people play those games and it always ends up being a disaster. It always do. It always do. Because you will keep selling yourself short. You will keep compromising yourself. You will keep doing 1,000 different things. And eventually, something's going to click. There's going to be a moment where someone's going to say something to you that's going to make you go, what? There's going to be a line that's going to be crossed, and you're going to be reminded that you all are not the same. That in spite of all of the different things, ideas, words, commonalities, that you're where you're at and they're where they're at. And even though there's some similarities, there's some situations where you're finding that alone. And that's just something I've realized over the years. I mean, you're talking to somebody who grew up in Texas, dealt with the Ivy League culture of white people and whiteness at the elite levels, at the blue collar levels, at the southern levels, the northern levels. I done dealt with all types of whiteness and experiences, and I've realized one common thread is that you can only go so far in that. And if you stay true to yourself in those situations, you stand up for yourself, you stay true to who you are, it won't feel as bad, right? Right? Because I know that in my career, I've seen it where white people will be a big fan and then you'll say something that pisses them off or they don't like, and then they'll go 180. And then there's cases where they'll come back and they'll leave again, or they'll flip, or they'll whatever. And I've seen that so much, so often. And so I always tell a lot of my black friends and folks that are in media in this industry, trust but verify. Which brings me to my next topic. So Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is now Supreme Court Justice, and she's been confirmed. She's been confirmed. She is now going to be the next Supreme Court Justice of the United States. She is the first black woman to be in that position, which has now made the Supreme Court currently stand at, for the first time in its over 200-something year history, the first time ever the Supreme Court is not a majority of white men. Most of the people now in the Supreme Court are women or people of color, but not just white men. There's now a majority non-white male representation on the Supreme Court. It's a big deal, I suppose. I guess in the words of our Vice President Kamala Harris, we did it, Joe. We did it. I'm happy. I think it's cool, right? We do have the first black woman to be in the Supreme Court. And this is an important moment. And thank God we have another black person. She's the third black person to be on the Supreme Court in its history. Thank goodness we have a black person that's not Clarence Thomas of the Supreme Court. Because it's been, 30 years of Clarence Thomas being there as our only representation. As Clarence Thomas begins to get old and fade out, we now have, someone who's a little bit, a lot different from him. My only thing, though, is that there's been a lot, every time these moments happen, there becomes a bunch of performativeness, like over the top performativeness, like all these, like just, I know some of you, if you've been on the internet, you've seen this horrific graphic that has Nipsey Hussle, Betty White, Martin Luther King Jr., a bunch of other dead folks, all looking down at, Miss Jackson and Supreme Court Justice Jackson. And I'm sitting here like, not again. Not us doing this again. It's just a lot of performativeness and references. She said that she's the dream of a slave. A lot of people were like, well, slaves really want reparations. Slaves were not hoping to see Supreme Court justices. There's a lot of things being said right now. All I will say is that for the Biden administration, they will always get us with these symbolic gestures, and it's good, right? It's great. It's cute. It's all of that. But we're in a student debt crisis right now, right? He's extended the deadline to August, so a lot of my friends who have student debt, they can breathe this summer. He keeps pushing it. It's like, just cancel it, man. Cancel it. I feel like he's going to keep extending it to the midterm because he cannot afford to have people paying student loans before the midterm. And I told you all, my theory was that he was going to keep pushing it, and he's going to keep pushing it and pushing it. He's not going to let people pay student loans to the midterm. He's going to keep pushing it to deadline. I'm convinced. Because every time people start getting ready, he keeps pushing it. Which is, admirable. But cancel it. The one thing that everybody can agree on that needs to be canceled is student debt, except for a couple of idiots who are like, well, I have to pay my student debt off, so now you pay yours. Well, that's because those people can't afford it, you idiot. I've heard a couple of people say that. Well, what about the people that have to pay theirs? Well, you know what? There's also a lot of things that people have to pay for that others don't have to, and you shouldn't be trying to retroactively charge people. Okay, so you paid for your parking ticket a couple years ago, and now the government said we're going to waiver them for others. Oh, well, you can afford to pay it. Goodness, people are just crotchety. But I say all that to say is that there's a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of things. People want to get, I don't know. This is great, but people want some real shit, y'all. People want some other shit. Other things. These historical moments are great. The photos are great. The likes on Instagram are great. All of that is wonderful. And there will be some material impact of this. This is true. But we also need to see some immediate policy that's also going to impact community, because there's other things happening right now. And I just feel like people are not taking enough time to talk about it. So that's my thoughts on that. I'm happy. I guess we did it, Joe. But, we also need to do some other things too. So, Grammys, I'm going to be brief. I was annoyed with the Grammys, y'all. Jon Batista's great, but album of the year for We Are, yeah. See, my issue with okay, first of all, Silk Sonic won. Oh. Why are they so boring? Ugh. Boring. They make me yawn. I don't know. Okay, the song is not bad. I've always said this, but it's just so corny. Like, the Grammys have just gotten to be a snore fest. Like, really, Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, they've only had one hit. And they've won 4 Grammys. They won 4 fucking Grammys. They won Song of the Year and Record of the Year. And good God, now I wonder what's going to happen at the Grammys next year. Because, you got Adele coming through. And you got them coming through with their album. Silk Sonic has not even been that group. Like, That album has not carried. Is anyone talking about Silk Sonic's album? Is anybody? I'll wait. Has anybody talked about the Silk Sonic album since it's come out? I bet you some of y'all forgot it did. It's cliche, it's corny. The Leave the Door Open song was one song, and you would think it was the best thing ever. But this is what the Grammys do. They support this innocuous ass music. And then you got Jon Batiste winning for Album of the Year. First black artist to win since 2008. In 2008, Herbie Hancock, which some of you all might know, legendary artist, but a lot of you all don't even know who Herbie Hancock is, but he won for Joni Rivers' album. And then before then, Ray Charles won posthumously for his album, Genius Love Factory album, whatever. Genius album. Yes. Yes. And then before him, it was Outkast, which is in 2004, I believe they won, for Speak Your Eyes Love Below, which was a great album. And then Lauryn Hill won before that. But, like, these are if you look at the black artists who've won Album of the Year, y'all, I mean, honestly, Lionel Richie, some of these others, like, they just have no respect for black art. Like, none. It's been 14 years, and this is who you give it to? All these Kendrick Lamar albums, all these Beyonce albums, and this is why we cannot allow the Academy, either Academy, right, to define black art. It just doesn't get it. It just doesn't. You know, Bruno Mars is not black. I know people want to believe that he's not. He's of color. He's of color, but he's not black. And he has used his appreciation and admiration for black art to propel him, which shows you that the Academy loves giving awards to black soul and music, but not to black artists making the music. So you could be in Adele and sing a beautiful, soulful song, but you won't get, but if a black artist sing that same type of song, the likelihood of them getting a Grammy is very different. Now, there's been some exceptions, like Her, won Song of the Year last year. But it's very seldom that black artists get awarded for their music outside of the other typical genre categories. Shout out to Jasmine Sullivan, just turned 35. She's now a 2-time Grammy winner. She tied with Bruno Mars for, I believe, Best R&B Performance or Best R&B Song or whatever for Leave the Door Open. And she had her song that won. She got 2 Grammys. It was great to see her accept one of her Grammys for Album of the Year. Not Album of the Year, for R&B album for Hotels, which was an incredible album. Should have been nominated for Album of the Year. But it was great to see her, get these Grammys. And it's interesting because Jon Batiste didn't even win in that category, even though he was nominated. It's just very interesting how the Grammys work. But that's because the general categories have a bias, right? And it's just weird. But when you have a category with like 10 albums in there, a lot of these albums cancel each other out. And so I just feel like they want to nominate a bunch of albums based on variety, but that means it makes it hard for a lot of more diverse music to win that is not, eclectic or whatever. It's just very telling. But, the Grammys are going to do what they do. Award season this year was a little bit of a bummer. We'll see what next award season. Let's see what the Emmys are doing. So, read the room. That's what I've been saying this week. I feel like this week's theme has overall been about reading the room. I feel like a lot of people on social media have been making the mistake of just spending so much time talking about, general issues or weighing in on things that they're not experts of. And listen, I know that. Like, there's some things where I'm not the expert. And if I'm not the expert, I tell you what I know and I tell you what I don't know, or I just don't weigh in on it. And people are always like, "Oh, hear your thoughts." No, I'm not getting in that. I'm not a black woman. I'm not a transgender person. I'm not gonna, speak for other communities in that way. I might, give a perspective or at least, amplify a voice. But sometimes there's just some stuff where you just have to be like, not my place. I think there's someone that I've, have admired for a while, but has just been disappointing me lately on Twitter. Nicole Hannah-Jones, which you all probably know. Well, you should know. She is the creator of the 1619 Project, which has done some incredible work and have caused a lot of conversations about critical race theory, about slavery. It's been a lot. She's great. She's done some incredible work. I've met her. I know her a little bit. I've seen her at events and I've spoken with her. But on Twitter, she's just been, it's interesting what happens to a lot of public intellectuals, right? It happens to the best of us. It happened to Ta-Nehisi Coates, which is good friends with her, where you get to a point where you're so big, your presence is so big that people want to put you into every box, every category. They want you to talk about every single thing that you're not an expert of. They want you to talk about every single topic, and they want to get your opinion. They want you to connect it to what your work is. And sometimes it's not a good time to say something, and sometimes it isn't. Well, she made the dumb decision. She's made a couple of dumb decisions in some of her takes lately, in my opinion, where she just got into stuff and it was like, did it? Mm, mm, that wasn't smart. She talked about tipping. She took I think she deleted the tweet, but she was making this concept about tipping and slavery, and about why she doesn't tip, and was making this connection with tipping and slavery, and it's like, again, it's like, okay, you read the room. And when I say this, read the room, it means sometimes what you're saying may not be categorically wrong or false, but maybe you're saying it at the wrong time, to the wrong audience, in the wrong space, and maybe what you're saying and how you want to come across may not be conveyed in the right way. So it will create a different reaction, and to disregard the offense or the feelings is to lack sensitivity. And when we begin to lack the sensitivity, then that tells us more about our character than the point we were trying to make. That's what reading the room means. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I have not read the room in certain cases. But as I get older, I've gotten better. And I begin to recognize, okay, I got something to say here, but this is not the right place to say it. Or not in front of these people. Or maybe I should just call a friend, like How to Be a Millionaire. You have options. Call a friend, process elimination. Use your lifelines, y'all. Use your lifelines. There are some times where I'm like, you know what? This is a phone call for Sharon, Jamarcus, call up my friends. This is not a conversation. This is a conversation to me talking a happy hour with the Lit Brothers. I'm talking to George. I'm talking to Josh. I'm talking to Jamarcus. I'm having a conversation with my boys. This may be a call for Amanda. Me and Amanda just going to talk about this. There are certain situations where you just have to pick and choose. Sometimes it's time, like this is for my husband because they're gonna talk about some other shit that it's just for the hubby. You gotta find your audience. Sometimes it's not for everybody. Sometimes it's for a small group. Sometimes you want to talk really frank and get real vulgar. Sometimes, like I got a friend, one of my homies, I call Andre sometimes. We talk sometimes, my good friend. And I'll say some stuff to him, and I'll say, listen, I'm saying all the words that I can't say on this podcast. There are just certain situations where you just have to know your audience. Because if you say it somewhere else, people might focus on how you said it rather than what you said, or they might be focused on something else altogether. Just read the fucking room. And I just feel like Nicole Hannah-Jones, for all of her brilliance and her black excellence, she has just not been reading the room lately. And it's just been bad to watch. Because there's times where I wish, I don't know if I should be a consultant to say, this ain't it. And normally I don't chime in, but I had to because I just was like, this is going too far. So there was a situation about tipping. There was a situation about Will Smith. She was just like, why is he still in his seat? And it was this whole conversation about what she was arguing to happen. And it was just her reaction to it was just kind of like, this is, it was not the best, right? But again, opinions. But then she did something, and this is the thing that got me. She brought up this conversation about how there was an article that she herself would not write, but it was an article. She was to say there should be something said. And actually, you know what? I'm going to find that tweet because I want to read it out loud. Because I think there was something else about, she's been arguing a lot with a lot of people on social media, but it's been a lot. And I've been watching some of this and I've just been like, what's happening? What's going on? And sometimes, you look at stuff and you're just like, what's happening right now? But people live their best life. You want people to do their thing. But I'm gonna find this tweet because I do think it makes more sense to explain what went south here. Oh, so here it goes. She said, quote, "There's a piece to be written, and I won't be writing it, about why all the anti-history, anti-racism, anti-black laws passed under so-called anti-CRT, which is critical race theory, haven't provoked the same righteous, and it is truly righteous, corporate outrage of the Don't Say Gay law." And then her next tweet says, "In all my public talks these days, I am linking these two types of laws, both targeting marginalized groups for political gain, both leading to censorship and firings and infringing in First Amendment protections, but it is fascinating what triggers a corporate pushback." I mean, this is happening too, and specifically targets corporations. And there are people that have been challenging this, just disappointed about kind of how she is comparing. So she's been comparing, she was making a comparison about the outrage from corporations about Don't Say Gay, which we talked about in this podcast before. And she was comparing it to the outrage that there was a lack, I guess saying there was a lack of outrage about the conversation around racism and anti-CTR. Like, why are corporations saying so much about the Don't Say Gay, but they're not saying anything about the racism? Which some people interpret that as she was falling into the trap of pitting the support for anti-LGBTQ issues compared to anti-black issues. And once again, perpetuating the same stereotype that excludes or erases Black and brown people from the LGBTQ community in that. Like, creating that juxtaposition. And I just felt like it was cringy because, it's weird because I'm like, what's happening here? And I was very shocked when people were talking about it, because some of the people in her comments were very hotepy and started to say, well, they care about LGBTQ issues more than they care about black issues. And it became this them versus us. And she was kind of spiking that her argument. She tried so hard to double down and act like that's not what she meant. But I was sitting here like, it's not about what you meant, because like I tell people all the time, impact trumps intention. It's the fact that you don't see that trying to entertain these conversations like this is yet again perpetuating the same types of tropes. And you know what you was doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, here's what you're going to have to understand. Why is it that when we have conversations about not supporting black people, losing support or not having support on issues, that then people then turn around and look at what's happening in the LGBTQ community as a comparison? Well, first of all, there are black people within the LGBTQ community. Don't Say Gay impacts people like me because I'm also gay. It impacts other diverse queer people as well. And in some cases, people will use anti-LGBTQ discrimination as a way to discriminate and target black people based on race alone within that community. Like, we've seen this happen. So it's important to have LGBTQ laws that protect not only just gay people that are white, but also protect us all, because some people will use that as a way to racially discriminate. So I've talked about this before, but like in let's say there's laws that prohibits, there's anti-racist, there's anti-discrimination laws federally that protect people based on gender and race. and religion and other aspects. But there's no federal protection that protects people that are LGBTQIA. There's no federal protection. That's the Equality Act that has not been passed yet. Let's say, for example, that in Pennsylvania, outside of Philly or outside of a progressive city, right, that has a policy. A guy could discriminate me because I'm black, but when he goes to court, he can say it's because I was gay. Because once he finds I'm gay, he can use that excuse to discriminate me. Really, it was because of my race, but he could use the LGBTQ designation as his discrimination, if that makes sense. And so we have seen stuff like that happen. I'll give you a perfect example. Like, I've heard stories that a lot of these anti-LGBTQ laws have disproportionately impacted Black and brown people because they've been used as alternatives to discriminate people racially, and people are not thinking about that. And so for her to create this dichotomy implies and perpetuates the same bullshit that Dave Chappelle said. You know, when he was making these comparisons about the gay community have all these rights, or they have a stronger united front than the black community. It erases the identities of people like me. It may not intend to, but the impact in the conversation does. And she has been doubling down on this since people have called her out about it, and it's been really frustrating. So she said on April 6th in a follow-up tweet, I'm really trying not to respond to outrage campaigns where people intentionally misread my tweets, but this issue is really important to me, so I am doing so here. Nothing about this was attempting to erase the intersections between black communities and LGBTQI. Well, she said it differently. She said LQB. But she was trying to say LGBTQI communities. You know, my whole thing is no. And someone said, responded to her and said, I think your use of passive voice primed misreadings. People had to wait until the 8th last word of the original tweet to know you were calling out corporate hypocrisy, which we all agree stinks. It's Twitter. People read fast and react faster, but we've got to write clearly. She did not make it clear. It was a lot. People were saying that a black gay young man was killed by cops, and the comment section was black straight people justifying his murder because he's a, quote, F slur. As usual, the notion that no one cares about black issues and only gay ones has led to this. And that's the whole issue, right? Someone said, no one misread your tweet, though. It was poorly worded. Then just apologize and delete. You seriously can't claim this after we dragged Dave Chappelle for the same thing. A lot of people was upset, and I felt some type of way. And, I weighed in because I just felt like a lot of LGBTQI people in my community were being gaslighted by her. Someone said, if so many people are quote unquote misreading or misinterpreting, consider that you were unclear. But the real issue is that there was no need to raise the comparison of corporate response. It's unnecessary and divisive. Corporate response is optics and marketing, nothing more. Exactly. And then Preston Mitchum also added, quote unquote, outrage campaigns. This is how I know she's being disingenuous. Black LGBTQ plus people are saying, quote, ouch, your framing is erasing us and is harmful, and it is met with us allegedly, quote unquote, intentionally misreading. What do we get out of misreading something? Say it out loud, please. And I agreed. I said to her, I say this with the utmost sincerity. Black LGBTQI people challenging your take on this aren't running, quote unquote, outrage campaigns or, quote unquote, intentionally misread your tweets. To imply conspiracy isn't it. What you intended isn't how it impacted folks. The latter is more important. And that's what I said. I just think, there's parts of me that just sometimes get frustrated when, rather than simply say, hey, I fucked up. Hey, I realized what I said didn't make sense to other people. Why would you try to create a narrative that paints people who are legitimately frustrated as bad folks or bad guys or everything else? And it's just that's what you're doing, and you just can't simply say, "Hey, I got it wrong." Mm, mm. But people tell you who they are. People tell you who they are. It was disappointing. It was very disappointing. It was very disappointing. But not as disappointing as what I'm about to talk about next. This song. Yes, I heard the song. You know what song I'm talking about. Thank You, God. Yes, quote. The song by Jussie Smollett. I heard it. It rambles. It's 5 minutes and 42 seconds. On Friday, Jussie Smollett released a song on his Instagram page. It's on iTunes. You can hear it on Apple Play, Google Play, whatever. I heard the track. People said that they thought he was talking about me and others. He references LD and Don, which is Lee Daniels and Don Lemon. He specifically calls them out in the song, saying that we should take some time to talk about it besides being on the air in the shade, something like that. But he referenced them in his song. It's kind of weird. Um, he talks about people chasing clout and other references. People think he's talking about me or referencing me. Y'all know I've been talked about by other artists and other songs. I inspired Say Something by Justin Timberlake's, Man of the Woods album. So it's not uncommon for me to have a song, about me by some other artist that wants to, capitalize off of the fame or the name. Okay. Yes, I almost choked on my sparkling water because I'm sitting here like, of all the issues, of all the things going on in the world, you're still trying to hold on to this lie. I must say, I'm quite impressed. I'm quite impressed that it's going on for this long. Now, the song, he says, is going to, proceeds of the song is going to go, he's not making any money. Every dime is going to go to some social cause. But he's on this campaign to still defend his name, it's giving delusional. It's giving desperate. It's giving desperate. It's giving delusional. It's giving desperate. And my whole thing is, dude, just go away. Just fuck off. Like I just don't have it. I just don't have the creative words. It's like there's so many things going on in the world, and the fact that he is obsessed with it. Like, I think we all know what happened. I think we all know. Well, we don't know everything. Clearly, there's more to this story, right? But at this point, all of the antics, the stunts, it's played out. It's played out. It's seriously played out. We're ready to move on. We're trying to get on with it with our lives. I mean, if he appeals it, I don't think he's going to win the appeal. Yeah, he got released out of jail. Good. Jail was excessive. You don't want to see people, I don't support mass incarceration. But all of the other antics now, 5 minute, 42-second song that clearly was poorly produced, a lot of ad libs. It was a lot going on. I just you should have kept this in your diary. You should have kept this, this should have been something you made for yourself. Nobody's asking for new music. Nobody wants it. Just move on. And all the other shots and the shade and everything else being thrown. Listen. I'm good on it. I'm not bothered. I don't give a fuck. Look. At the end of the day, when the story is not sticking and the math is not mathing, all this other stuff is for the birds. I feel like the issue I have is that I feel like with celebrities, with their egos, is that so many of them are so focused on trying to create this, they want you to believe every other conspiracy theory on the planet rather than the obvious blatant things that's in front of us. So I was to suspend disbelief. Yeah, okay. He has nothing else to do. My whole thing with him is he needs to be getting his case together, taking some time off of social media. They keep saying that his Instagram and social media is being ran by his family, but then he drops these tidbits. He can't let go. The ego is there. This ego. A lot of people, ego. A lot of people that drives them, and it's been driving him for a while. And a lot of the things he's doing, it's so caught up in that. Oh goodness. Oh my goodness. I don't know how Journey does it. I mean, I know this is her family. They gotta keep you eye in front, but goodness gracious, so much, so much. Bless his heart. It's not like the song was gonna be on the charts, so none of his stuff was on the charts. I mean, his last album, Some of My Music, that came out a couple years ago, it didn't even crack in the Billboard 200. Good luck about that stage. What my good girl Rihanna say? She said, "Good luck booking that stage you speak of." She told Sierra back in the day. Good luck with that. Good luck. Good luck with that. I wonder if it's what charts it's going to be on. I'll wait. I'll wait. Well, it's a charity song. It's not going to be on the charts, I imagine. Well, I don't think he was trying to get on the charts. Maybe that's why he said it was going to charity. Well, I mean, I guess that group needs like what they're gonna make what $30 off the song. I digress. Um, so in closing, Abbott Elementary, so great, so good. Season finale. Yes, the season one finale is coming up this week. Oh, what a journey! What a great show. Um, Atlanta is now in full. It's Atlanta season. We're now in Atlanta mode. Show is so good. Show is so great. Good TV. I have not watched Severance. I know everybody keeps telling me to watch it. I know they had a finale. Don't tell me about it. I might binge watch it. I don't know. I mean, it's about 9 episodes. I might binge watch it for the fans because people have been telling me to watch it. I just y'all you have to understand. I was reading a book, so I didn't watch a bunch of TV. I watch some TV now. Now I love my Succession. But all these other shows, I couldn't because I was writing a book. So now I might, catch up on a couple of things. Maybe. We'll see. It just depends on my mood. It just takes a lot of me. I'm a doer. I'm a content producer. So y'all gotta understand. For me, I don't have, I'm too busy making content. I'm too busy creating to like spend so much of my time watching endless hours of television and shows. Like I'm too busy writing the stuff, write the articles that you all read. Like you all work and do your own thing, right? But like as a creative producer, it's different for me because it's like the time it would take to watch other people's shit, I'm too busy making the shit. So sometimes I'm like, when I do have time to myself, I don't want to do anything that requires me to think. I just want to relax. I just want to lay on my bed, my new bed, and just like, I don't know, have my face mask on, nap, go to sleep, eat. Oh, I love to eat. Light my candles, just simple stuff. Like I'm not like yeah. If you all knew my rituals, it's very simple. Like I like to get my nails done. Got my nails done. My girl V did a good job. I got my platinum sparkles back on. I love this design. I don't do them all the time, but like every time I do them, I never regret them. And then I do the go to I mix and match. But I love these. These are so great. I'm looking at them now. But there's just a lot of things I like to do. And so sometimes, like for me, as a content producer, as a creator, I have this weird thing where it's like when you're creating mass media, you don't want to end up consuming too. Like it's time consuming altogether, if that makes sense. So like the times when I'm not writing or podcasting or doing something like that, a lot of times I'm either just talking to my friends, I'm going out to events, I'm taking naps, I'm lighting my candles, I'm doing my massages, I'm doing all of my other things. And so the, leisure I do have, I watch trash TV. Like, I don't want to think. Because, like, when I watch Bad Boys Club, which is like you know, it's a good show for people like bad TV. It's mindless TV. I don't have to think about it. And I do have value shows I do think about. Like, I like Ab Elementary. I like, Atlanta. I like all my other shows. But, like, some stuff, I don't want to think. And I just want to just relax. But no, there's some shows that I do want to get into. But so far, so good. But yeah, I mean, April has been a blast. I feel like this week coming up is about to be lit. It's about to go down, yeah. I can't tell you. Yeah. This upcoming Senate race, these petitions, people knocking people off of ballots. It's getting ugly out here, y'all. Make sure y'all vote. I know y'all registered to vote. I know y'all voting. Even though voting can sometimes be annoying, I know we voting, right? We're going to the polls, right? We are? Yeah, we are. Okay. We better be. We better be. Okay. So until then, as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.